Hello there, and a very warm welcome to Chazingdra Chats, the show where we take a stroll through the life stories of people in the Pokemon community, discovering the 6 Pokemon on their dream team along the way. I'm Charlie Merriman, merry by name, merry by nature, otherwise known as Chazingdra, a host and commentator for the Pokemon Video Game Championship Series, and a content creator. And this week, I have the honour of being joined by the one and only two-time regional champion, Justin Tang. Justin, how are you?
Thank you, Charlie. I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for asking. I'm excited to be talking to you today.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm excited too.
it is morning time where you are, so let's get the day started off right. If anyone is less familiar with you, Justin, could you just give a bit of a brief introduction to yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Justin Tang. I started competing last season, and I won my first event, and I won my third event. So I was the only two-time regional champ for that season, and been kind of playing on and on, qualified worlds, and had kind of a rough start, but I've started off strong for this season and qualified for worlds again. And yeah, it's my first full season for now, so it's my second year playing now, but I guess still known as kind of a rookie, but yeah, just been kind of playing VGC. That's what I've been doing.
Yeah, I'm playing it so very well. Yeah, of course. This season, Wolf Glick has kind of taken your crown, hasn't he?
Yeah,
He's
sadly.
become two-time regional champion. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
we can't begrudge him that though. So then, Justin, let's get to know you better, get to know a bit of your life story and your 6 hand-picked Pokemon for your dream team. So, I believe what we're starting with, appropriately, is your very first Pokemon game.
Yes, yes. I took some notes on this.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So, my first experience with Pokemon was with the Game Boy that my parents gave me on my birthday. I was like 5 or 6, I don't even remember exactly, but it was a copy of Emerald, and it still remains kind of like my favorite Pokemon game today. Um, I don't know, it's just something like kind of nostalgic about it. When they even announced the Auras remix, I was really hyped for that because that was kind of my favorite series. I actually went to replay it a while ago, like a few years ago, and I found out I wasn't able to beat it as a kid because my save file was still there, and it was really bad because like I had a starter that was like level 80 and it only had HM moves for some reason. So like strength, dive, and surf or something along those lines. I don't know. It had like all like the really bad HMs, and the rest of the party were just Route One Pokemon that were just way under leveled. So and I was just kind of like in the middle, like one of the ocean areas.
Mm,
I don't even remember where because it's like all sea
yeah.
and Owen. So I was just kind of just chilling. And yeah, even though I wasn't able to beat the game as a kid, I got to replay it, and I even did I just kind of did a whole new run on it, and restarted the game. I was able to beat it for like my first, I guess, real attempt again. But like yeah, even though I didn't know like many of the fundamentals when I was younger, it was just kind of like the starting point of where I played Pokemon. And then from there, like over the years, I still kind of just played very casually. But that was kind of my starting point.
Mm.
It all started from Emerald.
So, I mean,
So yeah.
technically, you're a 3 time regional champion because you're now the Hoenn regional champion as well.
Oh
So,
yeah.
huge
I guess I
congratulations.
am. Thank you.
Yeah. Wear that badge with pride.
Yeah,
Um,
of course.
so, are you saying that when you rediscovered this old save file, you'd literally saved underwater?
No, I wasn't
Okay.
underwater. I was I forgot the town called already because I'm really bad at Pokemon names. But it
Sure,
was
sure.
like it's like where all like the little huts are, and you're
Okay.
kind of some.
Probably Sutopolis, the sort of.
Yeah. But by that, I think
Yeah.
I forgot exactly, but
Yeah.
yeah, I was there. And I was just kind of yeah. I don't even remember. I think I had like I don't remember how many gym badges I had, but I was like level 80.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I was just kind of chilling. I
Yeah.
didn't know what I was doing. I was just kind of beating everything as I went. Because like that's all I know how to do, so I
Yeah.
didn't know actually how to progress in the story. Besides, like I don't
Yeah.
know, I was really bad at
Yeah,
it.
that sounds like the
um,
quintessential first playthrough of a game. You've
yep,
got your
yep,
starter with all HM moves, and there are
yep,
so many water HM type moves, obviously in Generation 3. Um,
yeah,
and then your Route 1 Pokemon, and you got stuck halfway
yep,
through. That's
yep.
classic, absolutely classic. But clearly laid the foundations for a fantastic competitive video game
Yeah.
Pokemon player. So there you go. Um, so you played Emerald, and that
hmm
incidentally, I mean, I'm feeling my age right now because definitely Red and Blue came around in my lifetime.
Yeah.
But making me feel young again, Justin. So thank you for that.
No problem.
So you played Emerald, and then did you pivot away from Pokemon? Did you then play Generation 4, or did you just come back to it way
Um,
later?
I I think I was continually kind of playing because like I had Emerald, and when on my Game Boy I also had I had both copies of Fire Red and Leaf Green.
Uh huh.
So I also played that as I went, and I also kind of replayed those later in high school as well because I got bored. But
Mm,
like that was kind of a good thing, and I played during the DS era too. Like I had Diamond and Pearl. I had the first Black and White that I never got to finish.
mm,
I actually lost that copy when I was at like my cousin's place in Florida. I just like left it there,
mm,
so I never really got to finish Black and White. But like I heard great things about it. That's definitely something I want kind of revisit. But like I've been playing like the games as a casual for the most part until like maybe X and Y was when I started to like kind of know the game more. Like
mm.
fundamentally, like I started to know the EV stuff, but I didn't really know at the same time. Like I knew what competitive was, but I didn't know how to actually make it work. And yeah, I played X and Y, and I that's when I really got into it towards um, Sword and Shield. I also played some of Sun and Moon as well, but like again, like all casual. And
Mm.
then Sword and Shield was when I kind of like got into actual competitive overall.
I
Like that's when I
see.
like actually knew the game. But
Sure.
before that, it was all kind of just doing my own thing, doing casual, doing like that battle spot stuff.
Mm.
But it was mostly like using like in-game team or
Sure.
teams I thought were quote unquote good.
Mm.
But yeah, that's kind of like my what I did with Pokemon. But yeah.
Okay. Well, that's probably a good place to pause then on this topic. The final question I have though on this bit is
hmm
when you play through Emerald again recently and you beat the game, what was the most
hmm
valuable Pokemon on your team?
Most valuable. Um, oh, that's hard to say. It was probably it was really niche, but I'm pretty sure it was a Tentacruel because it had
Mm.
like during the lead four because you have ice, you have water,
Mm.
and you kind of just hit a lot because like anything and any ice move is really good versus a dragon. Elite four is what I noticed for any run.
Yeah.
So having a mon deck actually deal with the dragon types,
Mm.
especially when they have a Salamence and a Flygon, it's pretty nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was
Tentacruel.
probably that.
Very nice. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting. They expected you to go with your. Excuse me. I expected you to go with your starter there, but
Yeah,
Tentacruel, really
yeah,
nice.
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Really nice pick. Okay, great. So now is a nice moment off the back of that to ask you what the first Pokemon is on your dream team. So just as a reminder, the point is not for Justin to build the best competitive team. It's just to choose Pokemon that are special to him in some way.
Yep.
And I have no idea what they are. Justin's decided on these in advance. So let's find out together. Justin, what's the first Pokemon on your team?
Yeah. So my first Pokemon on my list is going to be Swampert.
Hey.
It was that level 80 starter I mentioned before, and it's my favorite of all starters by far.
Hmm.
It's really cute as a Mudkip, and I just like water types overall. And like I remember like I mentioned Auras earlier, like I'm a huge fan of that series as well. And when they introduced the Mega for it, I just knew I had to kind of have that on my team. And I remember building like my own jank little rain teams to get Swift Swim and putting it in the Battle Spot ladder
Hmm.
and just I don't know having a good time overall. Just because the Mega's really cool, it gets all buff, and it's just my favorite starter. So
Hmm.
I think that's like a fitting place to have it my first member of my team. So yeah,
Absolutely, yeah. Swampert also, I feel like in Generation 3 is like clearly the most useful one during the
yeah,
playthrough.
yeah,
It's so good against most of the gym leaders, and as we said, so many of the HMs are water based.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah, oh, such a special place for you. Have you ever tried to recently? Have you tried to build a competitive team around Swampert?
Oh, I have not.
Okay.
I thought of it though
Yeah,
because it might have some niche because we restricted and against Guard.
yeah, exactly.
So Guard is never bad in restricted format. I feel the only thing
Mm.
kind of putting it off I feel like is Rillaboom being on like every other team. So
Yeah,
you might be forced to kind of tear it, but
yeah,
who knows? Maybe I'll give it a shot just because I like niche mons and
yeah,
I
yeah.
think Swampert is it's not super niche, but it's like yeah, we'll see.
I think it's niche for competitive, and yeah, if anyone's unfamiliar, Wide Guard protects both of the Pokemon on your side against spread moves, and obviously
Yep.
in a double competitive format, if you can hit both Pokemon at the same time, that's a good thing. But Wide
It's a
Guard
pretty
completely
good thing.
negates that.
Yep.
So, okay,
Yep.
good. Swampert, that's a fantastic place to start. Now, I believe what we're going to talk about next is your time during COVID.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. So kind of transitioning, like kind of moving, I guess, many, many years from now. But like, as I mentioned before, like I was kind of doing like all the Pokemon games as I went. But for the most part, it was just like doing school, hanging in front of friends and family, and doing all that. And the Pokemon was all on the side. It stayed a consistent hobby of mine, keeping up with the game and such. But I only kind of kept it to myself. I know I mentioned kind of before in past interviews, like I was never really open about my Pokemon stuff to many friends. So I kind of just did it as a side hobby, like on my free time. It wasn't really till kind of like COVID when I got to kind of know more people through Pokemon and kind of just doing a whole lot of Pokemon in general. I first got myself involved into it more during the lockdown through TikTok. Actually, I actually had a huge TikTok phase for a bit. It's like really bored during lockdown, right? So I had so much time for social media, and of course more Pokemon. And I actually had like a small account for a bit because I was bored. I posted some stuff, but the way I got involved actually was there was this creator at the time who advertised a Pokemon League. You know how like we have like the gym league and stuff in the actual game, but he wanted to make like this like an IRL thing, or it's gonna be all online, of course, but like set it up for actual people to kind of compete in, which I thought that the set was really cool. So I signed up for it, and I actually ended up getting in, and I had a kind of a fun bit for a while. I ended up being actually like a ground gym team leader there, and I coached like kind of a fire team. It was like extra drill, Hippowdon, Mamoswine, and some other like just really strong ground types, which I found really fun. And I won like 10 straight in a row, and I only lost to like one guy during the whole time the league was set up for like a few months. So that it was really cool. But that was kind of like the beginning of it. But the main part really from that story was I got a connection from a person I made there who introduced me to draft leagues. One of the gym leaders there, he told me, he's like, yo, man, you're really good. You should sign up for a draft league. I did that, and it was like a VGC draft league. So I was mainly playing singles at the time, but I was also learning doubles as I went because during COVID I was watching a lot of content from like Cybertron and Joe and just Wolf and anyone really, and I was starting to get pretty good at it, or considered pretty good at it, and I signed up for the draft league. So you basically kind of just I guess what I have to draft league. It's like you there's like a tier list, and you draft a select few Pokemon, like a Pokemon like 12 in a pool of other people, and I am getting like a team of like it was pretty broken. It was like Metagross, Tapu Lele, Kingdra, and I had a Feeble from Burden, and it had like mud shots, like a self-proc the Metagross. This was during the Dynamax era too, so it was really cool. And some other niche picks like Magmortar and like I think Ludicolo too. That's what I remember. But anyway, it was like $100 for the winner, and I'm winning the whole thing. So like I feel like that was really my start of competitive, the feeling of it. From there, I just started competing as many as possible. Like I like through different like I through that league, I joined other leagues through other Discord servers, and I ended up winning like most of them actually. It was like a big thing for me for like a good year, and yeah, I just kind of went from there, and it was super cool. I was huge into it. It was like my go-to hobby, and I met so many people through it, and like people like considered me like really good at the draft, and I haven't done it in a while since I actually started competing for the actual circuit, but like it will always kind of have like a special place in my heart. That's kind of how I really got to like deep dive into competitive overall. So yeah.
Wow, and what an exciting way to get involved as well. Love the Kingdra shout out there. That is my fave.
Yeah, yeah, Kingdra.
Really good. Um, and yeah, Thievel as well. I miss Thievel.
Yeah,
It's been a
Feeble.
while.
Yeah, Feeble is one of my favorites.
Yeah. Unburden is such a good. That boosts the speed once you lose an item,
Yep.
and that has all sorts of competitive niches. And ground type gym leader to start off with. No Swampert on that team.
I think there was a Swampert.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure like I like a like Stealth Rock Swampert, and then
Okay.
like so like during that league there was we started off with singles. I'm pretty sure there was Swampert, but like I think it was my doubles team is when I dropped it because I ran like the Sandcore
Mm.
and a Gastrodon because like we wanted to kind of like have like a theme for like each week and stuff. But Swampert was definitely there.
Mm.
I just if I could find a team, I'll find it. But it was mostly just like strong ground types, like your most standard ground types you can think of.
It must be. It must have been strange for you having, been watching the content of Aaron Zheng and Wolf and Joe UX9. And then only, a couple of years later, you're seeing them quite a few weekends in a row, right?
Yes,
And seeing them in
yes.
person. How was that for you?
Um, Really surreal.
Mm,
Knoxville was my first hand of that. I actually didn't really meet Wolf till Charlotte, but
mm,
for Joe and Aaron, Aaron was actually casting like almost all my games during top eight, so that
mm,
was really special. And I got to talk to him a little bit after. I've always been a huge fan of Aaron, so that was amazing. And I remember my first time meeting Joe was also at Knoxville. It was like during my top four or final set. He went up to me and he kind of introduced himself and he was saying, man, you're so good. I'm like, oh, that means a lot,
mm,
especially from like these like top players that
mm.
you have such like respect for. It's a really good feeling.
Yeah.
And to consider them friends now is also really cool. Never would have thought of it,
Mm,
but here we are,
yeah.
right? So I'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think quite a few people, me included, owe quite a lot within the Pokemon world to lockdown. Actually,
Yes.
it's always a good idea to try and find a positive spin you can put on something like that. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's great that you're able to utilize that time so well. And this seems like a good opportunity before we dive into talking about your first regional. What's the second Pokemon on your dream team? Who's joining Swampert?
Yeah, who's showing Swampert? I think it's gonna be Metagross. Hoenn, we start off with that as well. And Metagross
Mm,
is also another Hoenn Pokemon. Metagross, um, the Shiny's sick. It won my first draft league. It was also one of the first Pokemon I built with when I joined the VGC in Sword and Shield. Yeah, Metagross is just a super strong pseudo legend. It's super cool mon. So definitely
yeah.
gotta be Metagross.
I like
Yeah.
the way you kind of bookend either end of the Hoenn Pokedex as well with your starter, and then
Yeah.
Metagross, who's one of the very last Pokemon in
Hmm.
there. Yeah, nice. Okay. Um, when you were younger playing through Emerald, because I remember you get your Beldum after beating the well, I guess you stopped before beating the Elite Four, but
Yeah. But I know what you mean. I know
but
what you mean.
yeah. But I guess you do see. Oh no, actually, because it's not even Steven who's the champion in Emerald, is it?
It's
It's Wallace. So
Wallace.
so
Yeah,
I guess
yeah,
you
yeah.
maybe when you were younger you didn't even know what Metagross
Yeah.
was.
Maybe not. I don't
Mm,
think I've actually got to kind of meet it till
yeah.
to a few many years later when I
Mm.
when I rebeat it, or not even rebeat it when I actually beat it.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, when I replayed it.
yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. Fascinating. Okay, great. Well, two very solid members of your team there. Now then, let's get into it. Your very first regional. I mean, like the entire episode could be based around just this. There'll be so much to unpack
Yes,
from the fact
there's
that
a
it
lot
was
on
your
this.
first and then you went all the way. But go on, hit us.
Yeah, so it all kind of goes back to the draft league stuff. So I decided to compete at Knoxville because through a mutual server, my friends Nick, Dylan, and Maverick were all going to Knoxville. That friend met there, and we all found out we lived locally, like really conveniently. So we were all like an hour apart, and we all decided to meet up at my friend's Nick's place, who's actually the Charlotte finalist this year, by the way. That Nick, really cool guy. And yeah, we all met for draft, and it was kind of funny. Like we all decided to kind of just meet up for a regional. We knew each other well enough, and we just we carpooled. I was like what 7 hour drive to Knoxville, and yeah, that's kind of how it all started. I guess it's kind of weird like thinking about how our carpool with quote unquote I guess like people I met online, but like I don't know, felt trustworthy enough, and I still talk to them today and know them, so kind of was cool. Um, but yeah, anyways, like that's how it all started. But most of my doubles experience leading up to this has been all for draft league, so I actually never actually played much of Scarlet and Violet for the Regulation B rule set, which was the rule set for Knoxville, right? So I am taking a team very similar to Wolf's Orlando winning team, and took inspiration from other players who tweaked it. The slot, of course, was Scream to the Iron Hands, which I know a lot of top players were also using, like Burns and a few other people were using different variants of it. And I decided to kind of use that six and make my own kind of tweaks and own item text and Terra text, like the Terra Grass Palafin, Terra Fire Goggles, Iron Hands with Sword Stance. Um, the team kind of just like clicked really well for me. Like it wasn't the most original team ever, but I feel like for this tournament, since I had very little experience, I had to do something that was already proven good and something that I knew I could play well. And basically, this team had all of this while having text to kind of like beat some popular balance mirrors at the time because Goggles, Iron Hands, and Grass Palafin, like you basically just shut down every Among Us in the mirror. So I was able to have a far run from it. it was really really strong. And before we actually went to the regional, I used the time to practice with my friends. I would run like mock sets with them, and I also used my time to I did a Limos tour, and one thing I kind of regret now is I haven't done a Limos tour in so long, but it's kind of where I also started. It was Tommy Tuesday. He hosted a Limos tour. I believe it was like best of one on like 8 p.m. my time, and I ended up getting like what like top eight or something. I lost to Sandy Shocks, I remember, because I forgot I protected last time or something. I protected again. He like front wrote me, or he had faint scissor, I think, and he fainted me. It was something like that. It was something crazy, and I lost to that. But yeah, it was a fun time, and I actually used the general chat there to kind of like update my record as I went. So like from 1-0 to 2-0 to 3-0, and I remember everyone kind of hyping me up, and all the way to 8-1 for day one. And yeah, it was just kind of crazy, and yeah, never would have thought I would have done so well. Like my last round of Knoxville Swiss Day One was against Luca Paz, regional champion of Liverpool, and he ended up beating me in a pretty close set. It was basically a mirror, but yeah, it was actually the exact mirror, except he had the Roaring Moon over Gothitelle. But like, I think I played it a little bit funky because I didn't really know the exact lines. And it was a great set. We ended up playing it actually day two, but after it was really funny. Like he was like one of my first Twitter followers. He literally followed me, and this was like before I got big on Twitter. I was like 60 followers at the time, and now it's like it's shot so much. So like he actually joked to me recently and saying that he invested in me early. So yeah, so that was really funny. And yeah, and then like moving on into like day two Swiss, I remember like I was talking to like, my friends about it. Like I knew that I had a good team and I could do well because I proved myself already for like draft and just like or my overplay like I know was good, but like never would I expect to kind of take it all the way. Like when I come to ranks, it was really fun because like every round I was telling people that like this was my first regional, and people were like, wait, what? And I remember playing Paul Chua, and I didn't even know who he was because I didn't really follow competitive like that. And I remember asking him to like, did he build with Luca Paz because they had the same team? He's like, no. I'm like, oh, okay. But yeah, it was just a fun time, and as I went up, like I knew I was facing all these good players. Even though I didn't know their exact names, I knew these guys were good because they looked good and they played well. And then yeah, and yeah, I don't know, winning it all was kind of surreal. Like it was just the start of everything. So it means a special place to me. And yeah, I don't know how to explain it. It's been so long from now, but like it was the first event I won, and it's just special. So that's kind of just how it all started. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. You reached the end of day one with that incredible record, and then,
Hmm.
as you said, so you believed in your team. You didn't expect necessarily to go all the way.
Hmm.
How did so? Was it the case that you sort of so you reach top cut and then you think, oh well, it's been fun, but it ends in top eight, and then you reach top four and you think,
Yeah.
oh well, it's been fun, at least I reached top four, and then you reach five. What were you
Yes.
sort of did you at any point start to think, well, I could, I guess.
Mm, I realized I could after top four
Mm-hmm.
because top eight all my games in Top Cut were all 3 rounds. Not 3 rounds, 3 games.
Yeah.
Like versus Karis, I probably should have lost, but I dodged a rock slide, I think. And versus Nick Navarre, I lived on free HP from Earth Power, and I'm like, because literally when he cooked that, I'm like, okay, good run. I'm out of top four. This was a fun tournament. And I lived. I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna win. And I think that was a realization that I could win the tournament, and it ended up doing it just because. I mean, I talked to like a lot of people. It's like to win a regional now, you need luck and you need good play, and you can't do without all that because I undeniably did get really lucky, but I think my play was all around pretty solid for my first tournament. I think like streams a whole different experience. Like one thing I think about stream that I'm a little stream shy. I feel like I love stream, but like my plays on stream are a little shy because I feel like in Swiss I make way better plays, but on stream it's a little bit sloppy. But that's what makes it fun.
Mm.
I feel like as a spectator, like if it like it makes the game more exciting. But like obviously, I wish to play more optimally, and that's something I'm still learning. But kind of like seeing how far I came from that first stream, is pretty cool.
Yeah,
So yeah.
absolutely. You say seeing how far you came, but I mean, obviously, you were still clearly playing really well in that first
Yes,
stream. So
yeah,
I think
yeah,
it's a phenomenon that everyone needs to get used to at some point. It is just different psychologically playing on stream than it is
yes,
just elsewhere in the venue. Um, and again, the fact that not only it was your first tournament, but your first time being on stream, your first time being on the stage under all those lights, and you were able to keep your composure, is yeah, absolutely phenomenal. Um, Great. Well, fascinating. Okay, so let's pause there before we dive into your next
yep.
topic and ask who's the third Pokemon joining your dream team?
The third Pokemon is gonna have to be Pancham.
Yeah.
He's actually right there. He's kind of a staple of mine now. It's the first time, like, so every regionals everyone brings their own signature plush usually, and Pancham has been with me ever since. It's a mon I bring to every regional, Worlds, both ICs I've been to, every event since Knoxville. So I think it has to be Pancham. It's my signature Pokemon. Um, and I don't really know why exactly. I just like growing up, I've always liked pandas. Like we have a zoo by here. I don't think they have the pandas there anymore, but when I was younger, whenever the zoo, my favorite exhibit, of course, was to kind of see like the giant pandas and just kind of watch them. And I remember like I had on my old phone, I had on my camera gallery, I had like over 100 pics of them at the zoo, and it just flooded my whole phone. But I don't know. So like when X and Y dropped, and I saw they introduced a panda Pokemon, it's just calling for me. So of course I have to love Pancham. So
Mm,
Pancham is my third.
I see. Um, yeah, well, it's nice to hear that you have a connection to a Pokemon because you also just really like the animal. Sometimes it's as
Yeah.
simple as that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So presumably this is also where your online handles to do with pandas come from. Yeah.
Yes. Unironic Panda. All my usernames have been panda related
Mm,
since because of that. So yeah.
yeah, fair enough. Shame that Pancham and Pangoro aren't in Scarlet and Violet, but
Yeah, shame.
maybe one day
Urshifu is
you'll be
close
able
enough,
to.
maybe.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe you'll be able to build
uh,
around them at some point.
yeah, yeah. Next gen.
We'll see. Great. Okay. I love the uh, I love the drop in power with Pancham, but the sort of increase in love. Going
Yes,
Swampert, then
yes.
Metagross, and then Pancham. Great.
Yeah.
Okay. So now let's go from that, your first regional win, to your second, which was your third
Yeah.
regional ever, I believe.
Yes, my
Yeah.
third regional ever. So a little after Knoxville, I knew I wanted to keep playing these regionals after the success I had and the amount of support I was getting. I really enjoy kind of the battling aspect and socializing with everyone at these events have been like just a whole new experience for me, and I wanted to keep it up. So after Knoxville, actually, it was Charlotte, my second event, which was actually a top 16, which felt really good for my second event because I had to play a win it in day one, which I ended up winning, but it was extremely stressful. That whole day was actually extremely stressful because I had like 2 hours of sleep because our car broke down. We carpooled again, but this time our car broke down halfway through, so we ended up getting at our hotel at around 3 a.m. Which was extremely rough. So I really thought I was going to bomb the tour, and I ended up getting top 16. So that felt really good. I also barely made top 16. I was one way. I was actually exactly 16th place. I felt bad for the one X3 that bubbled at 17. So I got pretty lucky, but I think I kind of deserved it after my car pull. Um, but yeah, so like, and after Charlotte was Fort Wayne, of course, and Fort Wayne was a week after, and it was not only just a week after; it was a whole different format. So I actually tweeted out jokingly the week of Fort Wayne that I'm going 09 because it was getting pretty bad. I remember at Charlotte, I was playing that Reg C at we were having my coffee or something, and my friends were like, why do you have foreigns?" It was like Iron Foreigns with like it was a really bad team. I don't remember exactly what it was cooking. It was like Loaded Dice, Rock Blast, Pin Missile, Terra Bug, and it was a really funky team. It was actually pretty. It was a similar concept to my Palafin Fort Wayne team, except it was foreigns over I think like Dragapult and some other differences, but it was pretty bad. It was not a good team at all. But yeah, I almost bought 100 foreigns to the first Rec C tour, so I probably would have bombed Fort Wayne. Actually, did that, but I ended up bringing Dragapult, which was a last minute decision. Um, from my friend Yotam. I knew I wanted to bring Chen Pao Palafin. One, because Palafin was I already had experience with from Knoxville, but I think the idea of it, like having Sword of Ruin boosted Wave Crash with Terra Water, felt insane. So I'm like, okay, this cannot be bad, so let's go for it. and it ended up carrying my run for the most part, like that core, that balance core with the Chen Pal, and the Dragapult was kind of there. It wasn't for anything there in particular besides kind of being cool. A lot of people think that Dragapult carried my tournament, which it did not. Um, it was actually bench most of during my run, but I was really happy to use it the first time on stream for top eight again versus Nick Nefar, the run back, and Dragapult had a phenomenal matchup there. So I was like, okay, this is great. And it was also really good my round before that, but I only lost because I got crit. I sure crit my Dragapult. So but he honestly did me a favor because during my run, I had to face this Lily Cole guy twice already. For my 9-0 day one, he was my ninth round. I ended up 9-1. I mean 9-0, beating the Lily Cole. And I also faced him again towards the end of day two. Or towards, I don't know, I think it's the beginning of day two, and I admitted him again. But I was not confident beat him the third time because I barely won both times. Um, I remember the end game being I had Terraflying Arcanine and he was Scarf Great Tusk. I lived like a hit at like 1 HP and I Terraflying and I just walled the Great Tusk. But it was not fun. It was not a fun set at all because he technically had the matchup advantage. I was just kind of I had to make all the right calls and it was such a stressful matchup. So getting crit my last round of Swiss in day two was actually probably saved my run. So without that, I probably would have not made it out of top eight. Yeah, so that was really cool. And I also probably should have made a top four either. Honestly, like I got really lucky. I put against Luca Trigger, a phenomenal player. Honestly, my tournament demon, I don't think I've actually beat him legit at a tournament without RNG before. I'm probably like realistically like 1-4 versus him, 1-3. He's just so good. But anyways, like he missed Wisp on me game three during our set, and that just won me the set. He called me out, and I got lucky. And again, like I said before, you need a little luck to win a tournament. And of course, I faced Joe in finals, and I won game one pretty convincingly. Game two, I kind of tossed. I was kind of in my own head. Like again, like I talked about how stream is a little bit different environment. I definitely got in my own head. I made for like risky plays when I didn't have to, and I ended up losing the game from there. And at game three, I got lucky off a speed tie, which we found out because I think our Florida mains were speed tying, but that was not information we both had till that game three because we played each other actually in Swiss. I won in day one Swiss versus him. So we both kind of knew the matchup, but we didn't know exactly our sets, and I ended up winning that. And I basically just won from there. Even after some chokes, I kind of just like I had the ground after like winning the player speed tie, and yeah, I don't know. So like I got lucky again and I won again, but it's like it was really surreal. Like it's not something anyone can expect. I feel because like I'm no Wolf Quick. I feel like Wolf doing it again this season makes a lot of sense. But like for me, for like my first ever season, I feel like that's like nothing that you can really expect. But it's something I'm really proud of. And um, since Fort Wayne, I mean, I would love to be back on the final stage because since then I've only had top eights, having been my best accomplishment since Fort Wayne. But I know I can get it again eventually. But it's just it'll happen eventually. But yeah, that was the second event, and it's been great.
Yeah, crazy. Remind me how long after Knoxville was Fort Wayne in that season?
It was like a month later.
A month later. Okay, wow.
It was in
Yeah.
April,
Okay.
April 1st, April 1st. So it was about
Mm,
maybe a month and a half later.
yeah.
But
Well, it
yeah,
was no April Fools for you. Um,
yeah, not April Fools. Yeah.
it was that's so it's sort of you I think to kind of it's a difficult sort of catch 22 because to believe the main thing that's going to make someone believe they can win is by winning before, and you just think, okay,
Mhm.
I've got the I've laid the psychological tracks now, and you sort of approach with more confidence. But because you win your first tournament, I mean, going into Fort Wayne, how were you feeling like, yeah, I could do this again, or were you thinking, oh, we'll have fun and see how it goes?
It was honestly more fun
Yeah.
than anything. Like I said before, I said I was gonna do bad at this tournament, and I remember actually there was an article written on that because Abdullah, who won Vancouver, did very similar thing, saying that he would go like 1-8 or something, and he went 9-0 and switch just like me, and he ended up winning the whole thing, and I did the same thing. I said I would go 0-9, I won the whole thing,
Mm-hmm.
so we're both kind of joking on that, and that's something we kind of share as a bond now, which is kind of funny, but Yeah, I wanted having fun. I brought Dragapult. I was the only Dragapult in day two. I really thought it was a wacky team.
Mm,
And to this day, I mean, I don't think the team was really phenomenal, but the core of the Palafin was just like it carried me, and I knew how to use it. But yeah, I mean, I got lucky. I went for fun, but I think my play was also all right. So
mm.
to have it all, I mean, yeah, it's can't complain about that, right?
Yeah. Wow. Goodness. Um, when you're in the finals, how did being in the finals in Fort Wayne compare to being in the finals in Knoxville in terms of what you were
Oh, that's a good
thinking?
question. Yeah, I don't really remember exactly. It was definitely at Knoxville it was different because it was the first appearance on the stage basically for that day. For Fort Wayne, I've done it before. I mean, the main thing was I don't know. Like I feel like after the game too, it got pretty stressful because I ended up throwing that game. So like the only difference was like, well, if I lose this now, it'd be kind of embarrassing because I think I probably would have won after that game too if I didn't choke that huge lead. Um, but I guess there was a lot more eyes on me, so it was like I had to like I don't know, like the expectations were just kind of like I guess harder in some sense because like I knew people knew I was good now, and I had kind of like that expectation to probably win because I was in finals again. But at the same time, I was facing a player like Joe who literally just made finals the week before that at Charlotte,
Mm,
and he made another finals here. So I was facing like one of the best players in NA, and it wasn't gonna be an easy task. But like I don't know. Like I think the mindset was like I want to win, but like it was just different now because the spotlight was actually on me this time. Because before
mm,
it was on me, but it was like just shining above me like over like someone that people didn't know, but now people knew who I was. So like that was the only different part about kind of like us like kind of the showing. But yeah.
yeah. Also, such a fairy tale that, as we were saying, you were watching Joe's content over lockdown
Yes.
and have then become a friend, and then in the finals of your
And we
third
faced in
regional ever,
finals.
you face off against him. It's extraordinary. Um,
Yeah.
wow. So incredible, and as you say, I'm sure that next win is just around the corner. Um,
Thanks.
I think it's there's also an interesting question, isn't there, around like the opponents you go up against, they know who you are, and I wonder like
hmm
just how much it would affect them psychologically. Like if you, as a complete new player in one of your early Swiss rounds, went up against Joe, say, having never met him before,
Yeah.
it's interesting to think about how much is down to matchup, how much is down to just sort of nerves about who you all paired up against, and yeah. Anyway, fascinating. So now let's find who is taking the fourth spot on your dream team, Justin. Who's going to join Swampert, Gross, and Pancham?
I got it for the people. I got it for me. It's got to be Palafin. I feel like I get it every comment. People are like, "Where's Palafin? Where's Palafin?" Well, Palafin's on the bench because Urshifu's in the format. But at the time of Reg B and Reg C, that guy was the GOAT. He was my GOAT. He's won me two regionals. And I don't know. Palafin is just him. He's just super buff and he's cute in his little civilian form. But yeah, I don't know. Palafin was my introduction into the circuit,
Mm,
and he's how I got my last win and my first win. So it's got to be him. Um, yeah, I don't know. Like I don't think really need to explain it to a whole lot of people, but I think it makes
mm.
sense for him to be that Pokemon. So yeah.
Yeah, and a fitting Pokemon to come at this point in your journey, having talked about your two regional wins.
Yeah.
Because you used Palafin on both teams, right? In
Yes, I
yeah,
did.
yeah,
Yeah.
Knoxville and Fort Wayne. And for anyone unfamiliar, Palafin, yeah, as you say, has a civilian form, a baby form, so to speak, and then you switch it out, switch it back into battle, and it becomes a sort of superhero mode.
Yep.
It's a really fun mechanic. Yeah, and so far in terms of typings on your team, I know we're not building the best competitive team. You've got water
Yeah.
ground, you've got steel psychic
Yep.
fighting, and then a
hmm
duplicate of water. So interesting to see how that will pan out
Yeah,
over the rest of
we'll see how this ends
it.
up.
Yeah. Is would you say you have a favorite type?
Um, mm, it's definitely a mix of water and ground, I feel. I mean,
Mm,
like I was the ground gym like I mentioned before, and waters, I'm a huge fan of Mudkip, and he's also ends up being a water ground. So it's probably like
mm,
both of them, to be
yeah.
honest. Water and ground have been my
Okay.
favorite. So yeah.
Yeah. Good picks, good picks. So they sort of complement each other quite well as well.
Yeah, yeah.
That represents Generation 3, doesn't it? Water and ground,
Hmm.
ground on
Yep.
Kyogre. Interesting. Okay, right. So now, from your second regional win, we're going to the end of your first season. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so mentioned how since Fort Wayne wasn't really able to have that complete success. I mean, I was able to get another top eight. I had quite a long break since Fort Wayne. It was still gonna be Revolution C, but I ended up skipping Hartford. I ended up actually going to a concert instead, or not a concert. It was like a music festival. Head in Clouds, pretty fun. I ended up meeting Jody there. Jody after Hartford, pulled up, we hung out. It was really cool. And that was fun, but part of me regrets not going because I was starting to get like a little bit uh, addicted to the circuit, addicted to the winning. Because I think I had the sauce because Wolf and Brian Yum ended up using the same team I was going to bring. That they both ended up doing super well. Like Wolf got top four, Brian just bubbled out at ninth, and it was the team I was going to bring, and I knew how to play it really well. And I'm using that team that to Milwaukee, which I got my top eight finish from, and I won a local before as well. It was really funny. The local, it was New Balance. So New Balance at the time, it was basically used to beat the Palance core. So it was Gyarados, Chi-Yu, Fluttermane, Iron Hands, Amoonguss, Tinglu. Really bulky core, and there's many different ways you can build it. You can like Nasty Plot Chi-Yu or Specs Chi-Yu. I was doing Specs, and I was running my Knoxville Iron Hand set with the goggles, Sword Stance. It was really fun. And the local we had before Milwaukee, it was a Monday night at like 8 p.m. And in finals, I was facing Wolf, and we finished at 1 a.m. I ended up winning, uh, but like I don't know, it was a fair fight because we were both just extremely exhausted. He had to take a 7 a.m. flight to Hartford that day, so it was the week of Hartford, and he was just doing it as practice, and I was just kind of using it as whatever, and it was just really funny. Anyways, we both used that same team basically from his tournament and then my tournament Milwaukee. And the top eight felt a little bittersweet because I definitely threw a little bit. I actually threw pretty hard the more I rewatched it. Like James played phenomenally. I faced James Evans, who ended up making finals that tournament. But like I I definitely tunnel vision a little bit because not to make too many excuses, but like one thing that made it a little bit weird was that New Balance was really good, right? So there was three in that cut, and we were the second stream set. So Brian was playing the I think it was Austin Acosta at top eight, and I ended up using one of Brian's lines game free versus Evans when I should have done the line I came up with because I kind of psyched myself out and it ended up costing me greatly. So I kind of put myself in a bad situation. But James was playing really well. I just my play was a little sloppy and I didn't really have the best fundamental game plan because on one I knew it was kind of a bad matchup because going to the tournament, one thing that we were struggling versus in practice was Garchomp Talonflame, and of course in top eight it was Garchomp Talonflame. And I definitely did play it as well as I should have, but it was still a fun set, and I don't have many regrets. But I know I definitely could have made it further. So that's like the only bittersweet thing about it. But it was overall a fun tournament run. I basically went through the impossible, like going on that as well. Like in Swiss, I lost to Henry Rich using this Mouse 8 team. That and after that, I found out. I talked to him. He's like, "Oh yeah, man, this team is meant to be your team." And I'm like, "Oh, that's really fun." So my win in day two, I faced Zachary Fortenberg on that same team, and I somehow won, and that felt so good because they literally said that they counter teamed the team I was using. I'm like, "Okay, that's not fun at all." And winning that. But yeah, that was like my last top eight for that season, and um, yeah, and after that, it kind of went downhill, I guess. Um, I had a 6-3 at Fresno, which 6-3 isn't bad, but like it felt really bad. I was really, really down. Like I choked versus Neil Patel. I thunder punched so like I was like +4 Iron Hands and I thunder punched him reading Terra like twice because I thought he was going to do the second time after I did it, and he didn't switch. And I'm like, okay. So I just choked from there, and then I lost to Dozo for my win in him, so I ended up 6-3. But the guy was really nice, Lev. He ended up buying me food after because he talked me out because like he knew I was like really down. But like it was a humbling experience. Like I talked to a few people about it, like with even Joe and a few other people, and he's like, yeah, man, we all did. I think Joe also succeeded at tournaments, so we're both kind of in the dumps. But like he wasn't nearly as bad because he's been through it before. This was like my
Mm.
first time going through it. Like I feel like when you have that peak, I mean, when your worst performance is a top eight, I feel like, or a top 16 and a top eight, it's like anything lower feels like worse for yourself when you're starting like that. So it was definitely a humbling experience and something that I took like to heart and learned. And obviously, like I didn't take it to heart like as well I probably should have because I had an R6 at NAC, which was my event after Fresno. I ended up bringing the same team with some changes. I ended up like basically just speed creeping a bunch of mons. Like my Ting was turbo fast. I remember because it was really fun because you can do like faster nations. But like it was a good team, but I am kind of psyching myself out. I threw a few of my games, like my win it in, and I lost to actually that tournament I lost to two random washes. That's probably like my Pokemon demon. Like I don't know why random wash was in the format there at the time. Like I don't think it was really a thing, but I lost to two of them, so that wasn't really fun. And then that was basically the end of the official majors for that season, but into Worlds, and Worlds was rough. I think leading up to it, like I think a lot of people had the problem. I know Wolf made a video. He's like he was practicing for all the regulations using different new techs, and then the new format ended up switching completely. So all that practice felt like a waste because you add home decks with Urshifu, Rillaboom, and Tornadus, and of course those Pokemon were dominating. And it was really, I think, the format wasn't really easy to click for me because I think also during the time I had a very linear playstyle, so I wasn't really exploring much, and also my motivation with the game was overall kind of low. I think like for Worlds, I was practicing consistently, but it wasn't necessarily I think like healthy practice for me. So I ended up two free drop. I brought like a Tornadus team that Sheeling and Marcus ended up day twoing. Sheeling lost his win and actually in day two he won his win in versus Wolf on stream, which was cool. That was really happy to see. Because the one thing about like being a world spectator, basically after I dropped, was seeing all my friends succeed and just hanging out in Japan was a great time. So like I'm not gonna take it for like super salty because it was Japan was an overall amazing experience and just hanging out with everyone and just the venue was cool. It was a good time. Just wish obviously like I would have done better. Um, but yeah, like it was a humbling end to the experience because I feel like after that people thought I was kind of washed. I knew some people did too because I've heard from some people. Some people are like, oh, maybe this guy isn't as good as we thought he was. Which I mean, they're probably right. Like I mentioned before, like I did get lucky. I think those first two wins were a little luck base, um, but yeah, like obviously like having kind of that downhill definitely has changed some point of views of people. I feel, but my goal was to kind of come back the next season. But like, yeah, it was kind of bittersweet ending the season really poorly after having an amazing start. But I think that the two wins make up for it a little bit. I remember talking to someone was like, man, you could have just stopped playing after that second win and would have remained a legend in the community. And I think that would be really funny. I mean, I probably could have, but I just love this game too much. So I think my determination after was to kind of just keep playing and do better, and that's what I ended up doing. But that was kind of the end of my first season. Yeah, could have been better, could have been worse. Not a whole lot of complaints, I guess, but yeah,
Mm.
overall.
It
But yeah,
certainly would have been a funny sort of anecdote. You sort of play officially in Pokemon for a month and then retire having won two tournaments.
yeah,
But as you say, I mean, completely unrealistic because fundamentally you're not going to stop doing something you're enjoying doing.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
So yeah, and I think as you say, it's sort of it sounds like in what you're saying that you sort of realise that having more of a slump towards the end of your first season is to be expected in a way, or sometimes we're all only human, so
Yeah,
it is important to have that reminder. And Pokemon is a game with high variance, and
exactly.
so yeah, I think sometimes it feels like if you have a great result and then you have a bad result, you sort of you have no idea where you stand, but fundamentally you've just got to remember that you did get those great results and keep that
Yes.
close to
Yeah.
your heart, I think. Yeah, well, what a roller coaster first season you had.
Yeah.
So from there, let's learn what the fifth Pokemon is on your dream team. We got Swampert and
Yeah.
Metagross and Pancham and Palafin. Who's number five?
Five's probably just gonna be a Dragapult, just for
Mm.
I think it's just funny having the second one with it, but also like I feel like I kind of started like a whole trend. I feel ended up
Hmm.
winning NIC,
Mm.
and it made finals of Worlds. I think that was really cool. But like Dragon Ball is just a funny one. Like I feel like during my Fort Wayne run, I was kind of just bad talking it a bit. This guy didn't come in any of my games, but that to have him come in clutch and be on one of my favorite stream sets, I think top eight of Fort Wayne was probably like one of my favorite sets I've had on stream. So
Mm.
I think that's why it's on there as well. It's one of my favorite. And I remember I got some like art commissioned, not commissioned, art made during that game, and it was like of the Dragapult, which I found really cool. So yeah, really like Dragapult.
Yeah, fair dues. I guess it also, you said that you sort of over the pandemic you got back into Pokemon with Sword and Shield, and that's a nice
Yes,
callback to
yeah.
that
So
era as well.
yep, yep,
Um,
yep.
so yeah, so the Dragapult, when you put it on that team, was that purely your own idea? Was it something you theoried with friends, or did you think,
Um,
no, I think I've got the.
Oh yeah, yeah. I should have mentioned that. Well, I mean, I mentioned a little bit. So Yotam, he kind of gave me the idea. So he had it on a Dozo team. Like he
Mhm.
ran. It's like the 2-2 Dozo teams that we had before, but he had Dragapult, and I didn't like that at all. I If you see me run Dozo at Major, that's not me. They cloned me. So I saw the Dragon Ball. I'm like, okay, Dragon Ball Gen 5 makes a lot of sense, but if I want to continue that Palafin core I had before, I think Dragon Ball makes a lot of sense because Dragon Ball can't get intimidated. So in theory, it
Mm,
made a lot of sense. So that's kind of why I threw it on the team. And it ended up working out in some matchups, and yeah, that's kind of how it came.
I see. Yeah, yeah. Well, pioneer.
Yeah.
Great. And then, so we'll go from there to now your first full VG season in your second year.
Yeah, yeah. So after the first season, the first event for this season was in Pittsburgh earlier, well, towards the end of last year. I think it was like what, September was Pittsburgh? Yes, September was
Yeah.
Pittsburgh, and I ended up not. It's the same format as Worlds, the format I bombed, and I ended up running a very similar team as my Milwaukee team, my Fresno team, and my NIC team, except I replaced there's one mon difference. I had Urshifu Dark over Ting because Ting is really bad in that format with Urshifu Rapid Strike. And my idea behind that was Urshifu Dark gave me a better matchup versus Hisui and Arcanine, which I was fine have a lot of problem in practice. And I got the idea from running back the team with Marco Fierro's success at Worlds. He top 16 with the team I've been running for most of the format, but he had Rory Moon. I ran it at Charlotte, but I was never a huge fan of After. It was a mod I could never make work, especially the Dragon Dance set. I definitely prefer the Tailwind sets a lot more after from regressed. But like during that tournament, I was like, okay, I know Rory Moon top 16 worlds, but I don't think I'm top 16 tournament with it. So I ended up running Discomfort, and I was playing, I think, really well. But I definitely tilted a little bit towards my own run. I lost on stream to Kyle Livenhouse in a Chiyu Iron Hands mirror, but I double missed Heat Wave my game one, and then game three was just disappointing. I think I missed a few moves, but like at that point, I was just kind of like, okay, well, get the bad luck out the way now. I lost the stream pretty hard because of some RNG, but he also played really well. I think I also had some RNG my way, but I think the end game I had was a lot like sadder to watch. But My run after that was a little unfortunate. Like I was winning, and then I pulled Brendan Zhang at like I think round eight, and we brought it to game three, and then he was encore on bundle. I faked out, and he didn't encore me because I realized he probably was not gonna encore. He's gonna call me a swap, so he free shots my Iron Hand slot, but he gets the freeze. So he game three freezes my Iron Hands. I lose the game from there, and that was the nail in the coffin because I pulled Chup across my round nine, and he sort of had a counter team. I might have made a mistake, but I helped him run lines versus the New Balance core. And because during that time I joined their building group after Worlds because Shiling and Marcus were all kind of friends with Chuppa, so I ended up joining their server, and I still work with them now. But like that's kind of the start of it. So he ended up beating me pretty hard, and it was really disappointing. I don't know. It was weird because like we're both friends, but like he obviously like knew I was down, so he kind of just let me be. So like, but it was just like it was so disappointing to pull that matchup like, as my round nine after kind of like playing really well and having this unfortunate RNG towards the end. So starting out the season another 6-3, I was I was really down again. but it came back up because the new format was here. I had some of my worst performances in Reg D, bombed worlds, got 6-3 there. So off to a great start, but not. But so then the new rules that dropped for Regulation E, and that's where things got better. Um, there was a event hosted by Beast Coast esports with Wolf, Aaron, Beck, and Necra on Rosemary, but they had a IRL event hosted in New York. So it was basically like, think of like kind of a big local. And in a way, it was like a tournament hosted by them, and it was like a lot of people that came, but it also wasn't as big as regional, but it was big enough, and there was prize money involved. And I ended up bringing a team of Orcapon Heartflame, Bundle, Iron Hands, Rillaboom, Lando T, and King Gambit. And this is a team that I've been working on with Shilang and Marcus Dion throughout the run. And I actually had Urshifu over King Gambit slot, but I didn't want to reveal it because that was the one I was considering for Peoria, that tournament. But Shiling was telling me, he's like, I don't want you to spoil tech. So I was like, okay. So I just made the King Gambit because I saw Eric Rio stream with it, and I'm like, oh, he's in a very similar team as us. So I'm just gonna copy his, so we don't reveal the information we might want to bring to Peoria. So I used end up his 6 basically, but it was 6 that we were basically testing. And I'm actually gaining third at the tournament. I lost to the winner of the whole tour, and that was really cool because the tournament had a lot of good players, and it was the first time I actually made money in a while, and also just did really well at Pokemon, anything Pokemon related, because I had a really dry streak. So that was the start of something great. So ended up going to my the regional after in Peoria. After that, with like strong hopes, as I basically topped that tournament, and I was doing well in practice. So that was feeling amazing. Ended up losing my round 1, and then I lost like my round 3 or something, and it was looking really bad. And then my winning end, I ended up winning versus close friend Marcus Dion, which felt bittersweet. But and I ended up the tournament overall at 10-4. Paul Chua ended up actually knocking me out for, I guess, the quote unquote, I guess it would be my winning end to stay in the tournament for top 8. I ended up getting top 16, which felt like okay. It definitely felt great to be back, but a little bittersweet because I wanted that top cut. Shiling ended up getting top 4 of that team, so it felt really cool to have something that I basically kind of innovated and created with another person, but it was mostly my idea. And it was my most original idea I had in a while, and I ended up doing well with it. So that was kind of the start of kind of my innovating for most teams, especially for, I think Regulation E was my most kind of creative run for tournaments of kind of team building overall. Because shortly after Toronto, I got top 8 with Salomon's Reign, which was probably one of my favorite teams I brought so far. It was created by me, Shilang, and Gavin Michaels. And that was a really fun team, working with so many great players, and just having a very unique team like that was just like I for the most part I ran standard, so that was the first time going kind of like just really like just crazy, like Scarf Salamence of Tailwind was something like unheard of, and it was something anti-meta, and top 8 with that was something kind of special to me. It was also my first top 8 in so long. Again, a little bittersweet because I lost to Paul Chua in top 8, who had to make the finals, which was cool, but he crit me turn 1 of game 2, which still haunts me to this day. But because I haven't been able to beat Paul since. I only beat him once in Knoxville, and this guy keeps beating me. So one day I'll beat him again. But yeah, so after Toronto, was San Antonio, the last Regulation E tournament, and I I almost brought Galarian Zapdos, but that might have been too much cooking. So we ended up stealing Nils team that made finals of I think it was Stuttgart, and it was a Regidrago team with Tailwind and Urshifu, and I never used Rapid Strike before, which I think was tossing throughout most of my season. But I ended up trying them out, and I top 8 with it. I got a little lucky at the tournament, but I'll take it. Got top 8. And that felt really good as well. And then shortly after was the new reg. At Charlotte, I took a team that I found out was used by another top player, Kyle Livenhouse. It was that Chiyu Gamora team. I used Charlotte. I went 8-1 in day 1, and then I had my worst performance in day 2. I went 9-6, so I lost like 5 straight after winning my round 1 of day 2, which felt awful. It felt so bad. But it felt okay at the same time because It felt better than like having a 6 free because I've had a day two streak from Peoria, Toronto, San Antonio, and now Charlotte. So it was my fourth day two in a row. Although like day two bombing was a little bittersweet. Um, I was able to see my friend make finals. That was probably the biggest accomplishment. I like see my friend Nick make finals. Was so cool because he's been kind of going for so long. He's been there to kind of support me. So to have my friend make finals, even though I didn't do as well, was really cool to see, and also motivated me because I wanted to do well again. So Knoxville came up again. I wanted to run it back really hard, really bad, really bad. And I was so close. I had the 13-1 streak. I ended up losing my round one. I feel like I've been losing a lot of round ones lately, but it's what it is. I lost round one. I went 8-1, and then I went undefeated in day two. And I was feeling really good. And then I pulled the mirror, which was unfortunate because I didn't really know the lines versus it. It was versus Luca Paz again, and that one hurt. Like finishing, I guess, like after Knoxville, I realized I had kind of a top eight curse going on since Fort Wayne. So like the consistency I've been having has been really good this season, but it hasn't topped yet of since Fort Wayne and Knoxville. So like that's like the only downside of it. But I'm still really proud because arguably I feel like it might be better than last season because of consistency, but also because of like mentally I was doing a lot better than I think back in Fort Wayne and the Knoxville area because like I had that pressure more in my head, and I feel like I was experimenting with more teams and just 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 anything really, and experimenting and just having that different mindset kind of I think helped me out with my success this season. Even though they've only been top eights, top eight is still top eight.
Mm.
I think most people won't complain about top eight. I mean, I'll complain a little bit because I want more than that, but I can't complain too hard. You know what I mean?
No,
So
exactly. I think
so
it's,
yeah,
as we were saying, it's a game with such variance, and
yeah,
the consistency is really impressive. There's an argument as well. It's like top eight versus being the eventual winner. You're all sort of so on a similar
yeah.
playing field that it's yeah, it's impressive whichever way you cut it. Now, I'm aware that you
Yeah.
don't have too much time remaining, so let's go straight on to your final Pokemon completing your dream team.
Yeah, the final Pokemon completing my dream team is going to be I think Ogerpon. Ogerpon, I think the team's a little bit more balanced now with the Pancham. I mean, we have like a lot of, but Ogerpon, I think, was my savior for my first season, first full season. I was having a lot of the 6 frees, X frees, and then the moment the Ogerpon format came out, I did really well with Orcapon. I also almost used Orcapon on all my teams from Reg E. From Reg E to now basically, and it was just a great time. And yeah, Ogrepon Heart Flame was what got me my first day two in how many events, and it's just been a staple. I also just the DLC from this was kind of really, really fun. Like like Kieran's really funny. So like little Ogrepon dialogue when you have it in your party, and when he
Mm.
sees, he's like, "Whoa," I was like, "Why?" It's really cool. But yeah, it's gotta be Ogrepon.
Is that a specific form of Ogapon that you're choosing there?
Um, Pacific Forum. I mean, I guess it'll be Heartflame.
Okay.
Heartflame's pretty cool. It's the first one I use. It's the one I've had the most success with. But also, uh, for Toronto, I had a Heartflame mask on stream. I brought.
Oh,
I
yeah.
kind of had it like. I think like for like that was really cool because like I had like all my plush game went really hard that day. I had all the plushes. I had the Heartflame mask on the side of the stream. It was really extra. I feel like some people probably would complain about it, but like I don't care. I think it was cool.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I love Ogre Pond.
Yeah. And if you're not familiar, Kieran in the game sort of is in awe of Ogapon, but then Ogapon kind of ends up choosing you.
Yeah.
Yeah, bittersweet for Kieran as well. And
Yep.
it's talked about plenty of bittersweetness over the course of that journey. Okay, so Swampert, Metagross, Pancham, Palafin, Dragapult, and Ogapon. That's a really interesting team. I'm not sure anyone's chosen those Pokemon so far. But
Oh, that's
now, and I
cool.
think I might know your answer. If you were to choose one of these as your partner Pokemon, which would it be?
Uh, yeah, it's gonna be Pancham.
Yeah.
I think we all saw it coming. Yeah, he's just like I said before, like he's gone with me everywhere. He's a day oneer. It's always been there. Favorite animal, favorite Pokemon.
Mm.
Definitely like I feel like a partner they can carry around. It's like, Ash and Pikachu, or like a little like I don't know. I feel like for starters, it's like it's got to be like something tiny like Piplup or like any of the other guys because they're just there's a good partner Pokemon. You know what I mean? It's like you can't really have like a partner size like Mamoswine seems like inconvenient. You know what I mean? So Pancham seems like it'd be just fine.
Well, it can work two ways, right? Because you have a bigger partner Pokemon you could ride on their back, I guess.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
But yeah, I think Pancham and you all go way back. So yeah, fantastic
Yeah.
choice. And now more abstract. If you were a Pokemon, what do you think you'd be?
Hmm. Pokemon. What do you think I would be? Um.
I like how you say Pokemon, as if that's not what we've been
Yeah.
talking about for the past
Yeah.
hour.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, a few days ago, one of my friends said I was built like a Wartrol, the killer Wartrol. Yeah, maybe it's the Wartrol, because my
Wow.
friend said I was built like it. So,
The killer
uh,
Wattrel. Okay.
killer Wartrol,
I,
the
I,
Wartrol.
I'm not sure I see that. I'm not sure I see you being built like that. That
Yeah,
killer Wattrel is
I
an
don't know.
electric flying type.
Yeah, yeah. Well, my friend said it, so I'll take his word.
Okay.
But yeah.
Hmm. Okay. Um, I could see you as a water type actually. You were talking about how much you like water. I could see that. Um, hmm. Anyway, maybe like a tentacool. I could see.
Well, maybe a
I mean,
tentacle. Yeah, that
you
could
have a
work
history
too.
with Tentacruel, I realise, but you're not cruel.
Yeah,
um,
yeah. Oh,
I think I
that's
don't know.
clever.
I could see. Yeah, I feel like a tentacle kind of. I don't know. I just feel like that. But then you'd be water poison. I'm not sure you're poison. Anyway, so we'll go. We can say Kilowattrel, but would love to know what you all think. What Pokemon do you think Justin would be? I mean, we'd both be fascinated to read what Pokemon you think Justin would be. There's a lot to unpack there. So now let's go through some community questions. So I posted asking for questions for Justin from the community. Thank you so much for all your responses. It's always very hard to choose which ones to ask, but here we go. And I apologize as ever if I mispronounce any names or handles. So, first one. This is a really interesting question from Rushan Shekhar. You went from completely unknown to one of the most well known players quicker than probably anyone else. You also immediately set a competitive bar for yourself that's very difficult to keep up with. What aspects of this have been difficult to adjust to, and how have you approached it?
Yeah. So we talked about this a little bit towards the end earlier about kind of
Mm,
how I ended my first season. I think like the spotlight at first definitely got to me. Like the first six frees like felt bad because I knew people had high standards and I had high standards. But I started to temper my expectations a lot more because I feel like the first events I did well in, I had lower expectations. I had that lower stress. So I've gotten a lot better with that. And I started like caring. I still care about my results, but obviously like, not as hard as I probably have in the past. Like this past month at EYC, I ended up six free. Like normally that probably would have hurt a lot back last year, but it didn't. It oddly didn't. I felt like I had a lot to learn from still. Like, I probably could have made day two. I could have, but it's not something I can hold on to.
mm,
It's something I can learn from and kind of just go on from there. So like I feel like that kind of like shows kind of like my growth
mm,
as a player
yeah.
overall. Um, but yeah, it definitely feels weird to spotlight, but I've definitely kind of managed to kind of lower those expectations for myself
Mm,
and stuff, and not care as much as people's opinions. Can I
yeah.
just focus on me?
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's a very wise answer. Um, yeah, it's one of those things also that just time is going to help. Really, that I guess there's not necessarily anything different that you do. It's just sort of as you have more experiences finishing in different places during a tournament, then you just you grow up that wealth of psychological experience. I guess. Okay, well, thank you for that question, Rishan. Next, Kaguya Falls. If you could hang out with one Pokemon for a day, which one and what would you do?
mm, probably Vanillix. Um,
Okay.
so I can like get like that free ice cream. It's like I
Are you
feel
gonna
like
eat the Vanillux?
I feel like it wouldn't mind. Like you can like a little like lick or two. You get a spoon when it's not looking. You know what I mean? Because some days I be craving ice cream, and it's
Right.
actually really it's really warm here right now. It's like 80 degrees, so like I might just get like a little scoop. So yeah, definitely Vanillix.
Also, because in the UK we deal with Celsius rather than Fahrenheit, you say 80 degrees, and I'm like, oh my
Oh,
goodness.
oh, yo, yo,
How are you?
right,
But right, yeah, no,
right.
I got it.
Yes, yes, yes. I totally forgot about that. My fault.
No worries. Vanilla. That's such an interesting answer. And yeah, I guess Vanilla self regenerate. It doesn't get regenerator as an ability, I don't know, but maybe it's
Probably not.
self
That's
regenerates.
why
Maybe.
I gotta be careful with the scoops. Like I can't scoop it too
Yeah,
much.
yeah. No, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Oh, yeah, it would help chill you out. Okay, well, thank you for that question. Cryptic VGC, what's the biggest thing you do to keep a stable mental before an event? Any rituals or traditions, etc.?
This one's hard. I feel like my mental is always like it can be a little shaky towards tournaments. Like, I remember for Knoxville round one when I lost, I felt really upset. I lost my round one, but for USC, I felt a lot better because I was like, oh,
Mm,
it's only one round. I can feel like I feel like your mental kind of depends on how you train yourself. Like, just get well rested and
mm,
have a good breakfast and stay hydrated. Like it. I think it really just depends on your mood overall, and I feel like my mood does fluctuate every now and then. But like
mm,
some events I'm definitely more calm than others.
sure.
Um, but that's kind of how I do it. I don't think there's any best advice for this because it's all personal. Like
Mm,
everyone kind of does that differently, but I think that's the main thing I would note for that.
yeah. Well, I mean, you also did say that, I believe it was your second regional where you were on 2 hours sleep and you still got a fantastic result there. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's definitely like I wouldn't really count that for everyone. I feel
yeah,
like
sure, sure.
it's an odd case. I talked to him actually with Wolf when I first kind of like talked to him there. For Charlotte, he was saying that when I told him about that story, he was like, like one of my best regional performance was when I also had a bad car ride. So like
Mm,
maybe it's a thing. Like maybe I just
yeah,
got to be in worse carpool scenarios, and then
yeah,
I can top 16 in another event. But
yeah.
I would not recommend it to other people.
No,
I don't
no,
think.
sure.
I think it's mostly a
Yeah.
high stress scenario for a lot of people.
And final question, Kooks VGC, what's the weirdest thing you lost to in a tournament?
Weirdest thing I lost to. I think it's funny he asked this because I definitely played him at Knoxville. He beat me with Bomba Snow. It
Ah.
was it was Terra Electric. With like Life or Blizzard and Energy Ball Earth Power. It honestly hits the whole Palin's core because you don't have any like resist to both ice, grass, and ground. So my Arcanine,
Mm,
Amoonguss, and Palafin were taking like 10 million damage, and I'm pretty sure like the freeze chances and blizzard's also really good. So maybe Obama Snow was the weirdest thing because I don't think Obama Snow
yeah.
was really a thing in Regulation B. I don't think it was very common at all. So
Mm,
yeah, probably Obama Snow. And the second one's probably Rotom Wash because I lost to it twice at
mm,
NAC. But
yeah, sure.
definitely those two.
Terra Electric as well. I imagine that's why Kooks asked that question.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
wanting
probably
to
maybe
cement the
to
reputation.
rub it in. No,
Yeah.
it was a fun
Yeah.
set. I remember that set. It was fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, thank you very much for all those questions. If you want to submit a question for a future guest, then keep an eye on my socials at Chazingdra or at Chazingdra Chats. Okay, then. So, Justin, we've heard a lot about what's brought you up to now. What's next for you?
I mean, overall, I mean, besides the regional, that's probably my last regional of the season. And then I have Worlds. Hopefully, Worlds goes better than last year. And then from there, I mean, for next season, I'm not so sure if I'm gonna be competing as much as I did this season because I actually on a gap year right now, so I've been having a lot of time to do all these events and such, which has been really fun. But I might not go as hard next season. I definitely want to focus on some other things. Because I think the Pokemon stuff has been really, really great, but sometimes it can get overwhelming. So trying to kind of figure out a better balance of things next year has been nice. So
Yeah.
honestly, like where I'm gonna be at next, I'm not exactly sure, but it's hopefully it's gonna be like a little bit more like something like I guess more structured, and I can
Mm,
uh, just like have some things more going besides just all Pokemon. So probably not as many
yeah.
as next year, but
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
still be chasing that World's Invite for sure. So yeah,
Sure. That balance is still really important
yeah,
when you resume your studies. And you're studying psychology, is that right?
yes, studying
Yeah, yeah.
psychology. Yeah,
Very interesting. The chat doesn't end there. If you want to hear some bonus content with Justin for questions that he hasn't prepared for, then you can get on over to my Patreon page where you can support the show and me as a creator a rapidish round of quick fire questions. Of course, really appreciate you all listening to the show, whether you're on the Patreon or not. So thank you very much for tuning in. And Justin, thank you so much for coming on to Chazingdra Chats. That's really fascinating to get your insight as someone who's had a journey unlike anyone else. I guess everyone has their own unique journeys, but a journey that's been so famous, I guess, and been fascinating to learn from your insights. So thank you so much for coming onto the show.
Thank you for having me on. This was really fun.
Where can people find you online if they want to keep in touch with you?
At the moment, just Unironic Panda on X or Twitter. That's where you can find all my updates and stuff. But yeah, that's really all for handles.
Cool. Make sure you go and check that out. And if you want to keep in touch with me, again, Chazingdra on Instagram, X, TikTok, or Chazingdra Chats on X. You can join my Discord community. If you've enjoyed this episode, please do like, comment, subscribe, all of that stuff that everyone says all the time, but it really does help out. Would love to know what you think of what you've heard from Justin and the 6 Pokemon on your own dream team. It would be fascinating to hear about that too. And if you have any feedback on the podcast or you have any guests to recommend, because I want to expand beyond the competitive scene as well, chazingdra@gmail.com is the place to go. All of this will be linked below along with the Patreon. So, Justin, we're going to get into these bonus questions in a bit, but if you're not joining us for that, then it's goodbye from Justin.
All right, goodbye, guys. Thank you for having me on again.
I put you on the spot there, and you coped with that admirably. And it's goodbye from me. See you next time on Chazingdra Chats, where there'll be another 6 Pokemon, 1 life story.